Tony, it's all yours.
All right, JR, this is quite a moment. The Nightmare family out here, and they're chanting Lee Johnson's name. Lee, I know this is a very emotional time for you. First win, and it comes here on Dynamite, on TNT. It's got to be feeling big for you right now.
You know, you see, Tony, I wish I had a world of words for you, but I just don't. A year of losing. 0-29. My trainers, Cody, Dustin, Arn, and hell, even Brandy. They showed me that if you do the work, then it always damn pays off. The Rhodes family is my family. And they alone did this for me.
And we're back. You're listening to Talk AEW, and we are talking about Lee Johnson. So, Rick, maybe catch us up a little bit on what happened this week with Lee Johnson.
Okay, so so basically, long story short, listeners, Mariko messaged Aaron and I. She's like, I really need to talk about the Lee Johnson match. And I thought it was going to be like all positive, right? Because I love Lee Johnson. We've been raving about this dude for like weeks and weeks.
I love him too.
Yeah, we're always like, why does he keep losing? Why does he keep losing? So here's the thing. So going into Dynamite, I was confused. I thought he won a match in Dark, which got him the ticket to Dynamite. So when he appeared at Dynamite in a tag team match, and he won again in a tag team match side by side with Cody, to me it all made sense. I'm like, okay, so QT Marshall is his trainer, Dustin is his trainer, his coach, or his mentor. He's part of like the quote unquote Nightmare family, like everyone else is. He's a cool dude. It's on Dynamite. He's getting his big push. It's his moment. He's a star in the making. Everyone loves this guy. Jim Ross loves him. You can tell just when he's doing commentary, like you can tell he's a huge fan. And then you pointed something out. And I don't know. I kind of understand why you are upset. I'm going to let you explain in a second. But I wasn't as upset.
Yeah, I don't even know if upset is the right word. I noticed something about the situation, and I didn't go into it fully with you guys because I know that I am reading too much into this. I know that. I know that I'm inventing mountains out of molehills, but something about it rubbed me the wrong way. And these are the two things. Okay, so first of all, like, we're super confused about his position in the Nightmare family. And Cody's come out and said that it's not your typical kind of faction, which I'm like, okay, what is it? Is it a lifestyle brand? Like, what are we talking about? But, you know, QT and Dustin had a three-way match with Camarado, not Lee Johnson. And Lee Johnson had a tag match with somebody else and lost. And I was like, oh, he doesn't even get a tune-up for his match on Dynamite? Okay, fine, whatever. We're going to continue the storyline of him losing, and then I guess that means he has to win on Dynamite because he was Cody, and like, God forbid Cody loses to Pretty Peter Avalon. That's not going to happen. But it did kind of rub me the wrong way that Lee Johnson's first win had to be in a tag match, and it had to be with a white dude, and he had to thank all of the other white dudes on the team for getting him to where he was, and his team members, and like, no one was thinking about race at the time, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be part of it, but I just feel like maybe Black History Month wasn't the best time to elevate a black man on the shoulder of a bunch of white dudes. But I mean, that's me and my hang-ups. And you guys can tell me how wrong and stupid and I'm overreacting, but it was something that this thought that I had while I was watching it, and I just wanted to discuss it with you guys.
I'm going to let Aaron take over, but I will say this. I think there is a better way to write the story, but I don't have a problem with the story. But before I cut in, Aaron, please, by all means.
I mean, if you put it into that perspective, I think you have all the reason to have the match rub you the wrong way. For me, like, I didn't read too much into the match. I just saw it as like a way of like getting Lee Johnson a push towards like, you know, main story of like Dynamite.
Yeah,
So
I just wonder if
I
his
can,
push could have come on his own terms,
yeah. No, like the way you pointed out, like you have, it's perfectly valid. It's a perfectly valid argument, especially like in the times that we are in right now, and especially like you said, Black History Month for sure. I'm sure they could have like they could have written up differently, but as a fan watching wrestling, I didn't, like I said, I didn't read too much into it. The only thing that I read into it was the whole QT Marshall like giving him the sideways look.
Oh yeah, that was a little curious.
Okay, but here's the thing. So I'm going to cut in now. So this is why I don't have a problem with it. So again, I always say this. We're not in the writer's room. We're not backstage. We don't know what's what. We don't know who's hurt. We don't know why they always do the things they do. Cody is injured. We don't know what
I thought
that
he was
means.
injured in that match.
So that's the thing. Was he injured in the match? Was he injured before the match? And he used the match as an excuse to show off his injury? I
That's
don't
the
know.
thing. We don't know.
Well,
I mean, according to Arn, he got dinged.
But here's the thing. Like, hear me out, though. So again, I thought he already had a singles match. I was wrong. But that said, so he comes out. They established a fact for anyone who doesn't watch Dark and does not know who this dude is. They established a fact that he's part of the Nightmare family. He is part of the family in this quote-unquote faction, and this is his trainer, QT Marshall. This is his mentor, Dustin Rhodes. This is why they partnered him up with Cody, which helps give him a bigger push because Cody is sort of like the face of the company. He gets the win. He gets the pin, not Cody. Cody's outside of the ring. He's injured. He's hurt. He can't pin anybody for the life of him, right? Now, yes, it's against Peter Avalon. It would have been cooler if it was against Cesar. But whatever, he got the win. But I think the thing is they're setting up a story between him and QT because of what happened at the end. And therefore, that's why I like it because it gives him a bigger push. So I get what you're saying, and that's what I mean. A better way to write it is to have him win a singles match and still do the same storyline where Tony comes out, he interviews him, and he forgets to thank QT. I'm not going to disagree with you there, but I think the reason why they did the tag team match is because they also were looking for a reason to put Cesar in Dynamite. And there's only so much time they have every week.
Well, because he appeared like in the Royal Rumble the Lumberjack match. He was at the Lumberjack match last week, and a lot of people were like, "Who the heck is this guy?"
Because they also had him team up with Peter Avalon on Dark this week, and I was blown away. They have amazing chemistry. They should totally be a team. I think it's great.
I don't know how much I can watch Peter Avalon. I think he's doing a great job. He's kayfabe like it's working, okay, but it's pissing me off. But he's doing a good job at it. I'll give him credit for that.
That's fair enough. That's fair.
What don't you like about Peter Avalon? His look, his personality, or his wrestling?
You know what he reminds me of? It's because like just sort of like he thinks he's like this sexy guy, but like he's kind of gross. Like he gets me thinking. I'm like he's like Larry Laffer from like the Laser Suit Larry games.
Oh yes.
He thinks he's like such a stud muffin, but in real life he's like a complete dork and he's like a loser. I don't know. He just makes that's the idea I get. It's Larry Laffer in the ring.
Still heel like standard.
Yeah,
shit, but
yeah, I know.
But he does it so well.
I know, but that's the thing. He does it so well, but it's like triggering me. Like that.
Exactly.
I hate him, and I love him at the same time. Like, you know what I mean?
You love to hate him.
So that's the thing, right? Like, I think he works in his character. Like, here's the thing. I say this every week. Not every wrestler has to be The Rock or Austin. Not every wrestler has to be super strong or have great charisma or personality. There's got to be the average Joe. There's got to be the people that are annoying. There's got to be the people who don't have the greatest build. There's got to be variety. There's got to be people of different backgrounds and cultures. And I mean, yeah, like you look at Peter Avalon, he thinks he's like the sexiest man on the planet, and I don't think he's at all even close to being the least, like he's like probably the least good looking person on the roster, male or female.
But he plays it off so
exactly
well.
Right. Like it's like you don't want to see just a bunch of Ricky Starks. You don't want to see a bunch of like Sammys, like as much as I love Sammy Guevara. Like so. Anyhow, that's the reason why I think they booked the match the way they booked the match. And that said, when we talk about storytelling and booking on Dynamite, I think it's taken like a nosedive. Like the quality's really dipped in the past like 8 weeks. I thought overall this was actually a decent, pretty damn good episode, like from start to finish of Dynamite. there are problems, but overall, like matches like this and the way I see them building to a future storyline, and in this case, like having maybe QT Marshall turn heel or having a feud between him and
Because he's totally a heel on Sammy's vlog.
yeah, I know, right? And so I gotta tell you, Mariko, I dug it. I really did. I did not have any problem with it whatsoever.
Again, this is I will cop to the fact that like this is my thing, and there was some stuff that happened this week that like had me looking for reasons to be outraged. So again, I admit I deliberately read into it a lot. But sometimes it's interesting to look at something that obviously no one else had considered in the way that it happens. And you know, some people are gonna fixate on it like me, and some people it doesn't bother.
Yeah. No, well, I was gonna say like you're not wrong to look at it like that way because you always want to like see representation in whatever you want to put your attention and your emotion into, and that's another thing too, like the way why we watch wrestling and love the wrestlers we love is because we feel like it's representing us, right? So
And I mean, you're talking about a promotion that had Nyla Rose as a champion.
yeah.
You know, that's kind of like a big deal because I don't know any wrestler who in the past who's trans that had a championship title on, at least not on TV.
Well, not only that, you had also Sammy Guevara being suspended after the comments on Sasha Banks. I mean, Dave.
Scorpio Sky.
Like.
Scorpio Sky
Yeah,
made the comments about, he made the homophobic comments.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like, you know what I mean? Like I'm all open to people being able to change and positivity, and like that's what I like about AEW, like the fact that the roster is diverse. And I mean, look at Sunny Kiss. You know, it's to the point where Sunny Kiss does not care if JR says she or he. Like Sunny Kiss lets JR choose. You know, it's not a big deal. Like I don't know, like, would you see that? No offense. And I you know, I've grown up watching the WWE, so it's not a knock necessarily on the WWE to some extent, but like, would you see that on the WWE? Like, I don't think so.
No, and I'm not saying that they're not doing a good job. I'm just saying everybody can always do better.
Apart from some of the Japanese wrestlers holding a championship belt, mainly in the women's division, has anyone had a belt that isn't white? Yeah, so like the tag team championship, for example, there was Kenny, there was Hangman, there was FTR, there was Mad Nick.
Nyla Rose is...
Yeah, Nyla Rose.
Yeah.
So there's Nyla Rose. There's Riho. On the men's side of things, though, Darby, Brody, Cody, Moxley, Chris. No.
Yep.
Not yet.
Yep.
No.
Yep. And there aren't really any men of color in the championship.
Or the main event, for that matter.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
as much as they pay a lot of lip service to pushing Scorpio Sky, he is firmly in the mid card.
Yeah.
So that I think that made me more critical of the way that they were presenting Lee Johnson, because, you know, we've said again and again how much we love Lee Johnson, how much we love Sean Dean, how we want these people to be pushed, how they're, you know, great examples of fantastic African-American wrestlers, and how, you know, they should be pushed more. So that made me like really scrutinize what was happening with Lee Johnson now that they are giving him a push, and the way that they're doing it. You know, maybe they could have handled it better.
Last thing I'm going to say is between Scorpio Sky and Lee Johnson, I think Lee Johnson has more of a chance to actually have a title around his waist.
I agree.
Most likely it's going to start the TNT Championship. I just think he's way more charismatic, and he fits the role of a babyface better than Scorpio Sky. To me, Scorpio Sky is like a total heel.
Honestly, I feel like he should be heel. My husband says that all the time. He's like, I don't know why I don't like this guy, but like I just don't buy it. Like I don't believe that he's actually nice.
I don't either. Actually, you know who's not nice? Will Hobbs. And he admitted on the podcast, he was on the AEW Unrestricted podcast, and he said, he's like, I'm not a nice guy. Like, he does not appear to be a nice guy in real life. I would not want to get into a fight with this guy in real life. I don't think he's a good guy. I love him in AEW. I love him as part of Team Taz. But he, honest to God, looks like a real heel.
Apparently,
Yeah, he
he's
does.
just like a big cuddly dad, but...
Well, we got the same impression too when we saw like John Huber for the first time, right? I mean, when you look at the tribute show, and then how he was in ring and his persona,
That's
like
true.
we don't. I mean, they're at the end of the day, they're all doing their jobs, and these are not whatever you see on the screen is not going to be what they are in real life, and but that's what makes them good at their job.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times what you see in the ring is very close to the real life persona. Like when it comes to the Young Brothers, like I think that's who they are in real life.
You mean the Young
It's
Bucks?
the Good Brothers.
Yeah, it could be. You mean
It's
the Young Bucks?
every week. It's the Good Brothers. Yeah, you did it earlier in the show too, and I was like, should I even bother saying anything at this point? But yeah.
Every episode of Dynamite has had at least one great match this year, even if the entire episode is sort of like fallen apart. So, again, pandemic, things are complicated. I don't want to give them too many excuses, but I do acknowledge that things are not easy right now for anyone because of COVID. Even if they're filming in Florida where people can seem to do whatever they want to do, like have a Super Bowl.
And go to Disney World.
Yeah.
Well, that's another story altogether. All right. I think that's going to do it for today's episode. Once again, I want to thank Aaron Santos for coming on. And again, thank you to Ricky D, as usual.
Just a reminder, you can find the podcast over at goombastomp.com. Just click on the wrestling section and or the podcast section. The podcast itself is on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon. It's like everywhere, but just go to the website and you'll find all the links within each post of each episode. And the Twitter handle is Talk AEW Podcast, I believe.
All right. That's everything for this week. Again, Twitter, you can go to AEW Podcast, and we'll see you again next week.